and there is a baseline dopamine that we have in our bodies. Hacking that can really help with attention and focus, because what happens is every time we do a task, we do get a dopamine hit. Now, if I relate it to, let's say, a distraction from the focus we want to do, an aspirant who's trying to study but now is gone into binging on social media reels. If we do that too much, we are setting our dopamine level requirement at a higher level. तो अब हमें actually body को satisfy करने में और ज़्यादा कुछ करना होगा, because हमने इतना binge watching कर लिया है कि something ordinary is not going to satisfy our dopamine need. UPSC is basically trying to test our accumulated life awareness, and it doesn't really ask us whether we've learned a fact or not, telling ourselves that it is just one means to become a public servant. So we don't need to be a civil servant to do public service. Unfortunately, at 8th and 9th standard, people are peddling that also.
कहाँ हो रहा है यार ये जेई और नीट का, तो मुझे पता है, बट आर यू सीरियस? यूपीएससी के लिए भी लोग 8 से शुरू कर रहे हैं?
हो रहा है.
Disaster. Why UPSC was something that in 2013 you figured कि यार ये तो करने का ही है? Hi everyone. This I would think would be the 5th recorded episode of Raw and Real. I don't know what will come eventually when it goes to production, but I have with me Chandarprabha today. She probably will get IRS this year. You know, we can speculate it slightly basis her rank, but this episode would be about one interesting thing: how, as an aspirant, when you get into the studies, you balance between sensitization with respect to India as a culture, India as an economy, India as a nation, versus the practicality of clearing UPSC exam. So Chandarprabha here took more or less a decade to get into the services, with a lot of ups and downs and a lot of experiences, which would be, I'd give the platform to her straight from the horse's mouth. Suno aap log. So go on, tell me, so the way Raw and Real works is, it's for the aspirants to find their footing in this remarkably subjective and, monster of an exam, and arguably the most difficult exam in India, as we know. And while they do that, they're able to connect with some of the rankers basis what stories you tell, right? So Raw and Real में most of the rankers, they come and they tell about the lesser known stuff. हम तो जो उन्होंने भी खुद अभी तक process नहीं किया होता, and we sometimes get to that portion as well, which in turn helps the aspirant park out their vulnerabilities, park out their anxieties while they're preparing. So it's good for them, it's good for me to know you better, it's good for you sometimes to explore things again in a new mode. So with that, we'll start. And like I said, we'll have this conversation around these two, pillars, that as you start understanding India more and more, you find your own way through it, either hands down or either grounds up, or you read a lot, whatever. And then you build a certain idea of India in your head, right? And then there is this thing about preparing for the exam, which eventually will let you, do something about it. So there's a tenuous balance between these that you have to maintain. So let's start from your engineering days. Why UPSC was something that in 2013 you figured कि यार ये तो करने का ही है?
Yes. So thank you for having me. It's a great platform to really share this very important issue of not making our preparation journey very dehumanized, because that was the thing I started feeling in the 10-year journey. And at the same time, while being very strategic towards how to clear that cutoff, also maintaining a vision for the country and having good ideas. So thanks for that platform. Now, 2013, in fact, a little earlier, as an engineer, I was coming from some experience of my first tryst with leadership as school captain in junior college. So 11th and 12th in Mumbai, you go to junior college. There, I was leading a rally that was in solidarity against the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai, terrorist attacks in Mumbai. And then I get thrown into engineering. In fact, one of the reasons we went to, so my college symbiosis was only 3 years into the making. So they hadn't graduated their first batch as well of the 4-year degree. So the reason why and I went to my parents and I said, should we really consider it? It's just 3 years young. So my father said something very interesting. He said that, Prabha, it's a new college. You may just be able to really tap into your potential for bringing new solutions in the college, because that's what college 4-year degrees when you're young is all about. True. So more than the degree and the academics, which you will do well, let's focus on the new initiatives you can bring into. So that's what both my parents said. And they were very comfortable with sending me to a college that was 3 years young.
That's
And
great.
so that was one. And that is exactly what happened. I started the first environment cell of my college. I co-founded it with Abhishek Singh. He and I, so that was my first tryst with environment and sustainability. And after that, I also got the chance to research for an honorable member of parliament on the conservation of the Saryu River in Ayodhya. So we took a study team, field study there in Ayodhya. I saw freshwater gangetic dolphins in the river for the first time in my life, and also experienced how policymakers in Ayodhya actually are making a huge difference in people's lives, and not just people's lives, also environment. And that's where my love for public policy began.
Okay, give me a sense here now. People who have no clue about public policy, I returned back to India and I joined Takshashila Institute in Bangalore. I did a course with them. So it was a 3-month course, and I wanted to understand what the public policy thing is about. And I realized it's more like a case study, but with more sensitization about, logical solutions would not always see the light of the day. So you have to be kind of, in tune with the people you're solving it for.
Right.
And then there were a lot of examples where public policy, बहुत सही phrase था, good intentions, bad execution, and good intentions gone wrong. So give our readers and our listeners a sense of how do you look at public policy?
So theoretically, there are many definitions in the books, but to me, public policy is basically about how government across the world of different countries and across the different tiers, whether it's our 3-tiered system of local, state, and center, they best serve the citizens' interest. And in the citizens, I also include, because of my love for environment, not just human citizens, but also non-human citizens, which includes environment, which includes animals or biodiversity. So it's truly about finding a very tailor-made or locally tailor-made solution and vision by government on how they can truly serve the people.
Okay.
And
And how widely deliberated are these discussions? I mean, do you genuinely get experts from different walks of life sit together, go hours and hours into pros and cons of every decision making, or is it mostly एक directive है और उसके accordingly तुम्हें कुछ करना है? It's like, is there a lot of meaningful discussions which go on, or it's mostly decided like most of citizens understand कि यार जिस सरकार कोई करेगी?
I'll talk about my master's experience actually at Georgetown in Washington, D.C. So the reason I chose Georgetown after I was accepted was because they also have comparative modules. So they have their normal one, and then they have the comparative one where we actually study across different countries. And because I did want to come back, I thought that would be a better module for me. So that is one advantage there. The second one was the flipped classroom model, where they expect us to do our pre-readings and come to class, and we are the ones who discuss. Like you mentioned, we discuss, and the teacher is basically guiding us, guiding the discourse. Third thing is with Georgetown, because it's in Washington, D.C., we had industry practitioners. One of my professors, Dr. Griffin Thompson, was also the director of energy at the State Department of US. So he would come in the evenings and class for us. So truly learning from industry. And in terms of how wide the discourse is, because it was student-led during classrooms. In fact, I should mention an incident here. And that's how vibrant the discourse can get. We were discussing election administration across the world. And very interestingly, our professor showed us images of India and of ECI team members, officials taking those EVMs on boats and on camel bags and elephant bags. So the initial class, as a mass class, I heard a very sort of like a smirking or a amused reaction. And I just looked around at everybody and I'm like, okay, I want to speak up now. So I put my hand up and I say that, and my professor was very welcoming of different thinking and, opposing, contrasting ideas, which is how education should be. And I say that, it's the camel backs and the elephant backs and the boats that are making it sure that the largest democracy of the world, the oldest democracy of the world, is truly able to get every vote in. Because we have poll booths set for even one voter, senior citizens voter, जिनके लिए एक booth लगता है. Something to be so proud about, and everyone was very impressed by that. But they actually then realized that there's another way to see that image. So just coming back to how wide the discussion can be, it's very open. I focused on climate change, sustainability, sustainable development and environment. For me, that was very important, but I got great exposure otherwise. That's
How
public.
was that in India? So my question was more from the Indian perspective, like your
Okay.
Saryu stint. How was that like?
Saryu for me was very community-led, to be honest. It was a community-led movement, Swachh Saryu Abhiyan. In fact, being able to connect it with the community also led to policy solutions. So, for example, my NGO set up the first material recovery facility of Ayodhya. The waste management facility came up. Why? Because we were working with the community to demand better waste management solutions.
Okay.
So what that taught me in public policy is that, yes, top-down solutions are important. Basically, centralized solutions are important, but often they get refined and implemented well if your community is very active. So that was one thing I learned in policy from Saryu.
Okay. I'm reminded of those 3 months spent with the public policy thing. And I realized that, engineers, they by default do not know much about public policy. They do not, we take up jobs either in tech or in consulting, strategy, etc., etc. So ये पता नहीं होता, and so we do not even know the deliberations that do really go and the possibilities of that in the future, right, for people. So just take, let's say, 5 minutes or so and talk about aspirants who've really given UPSC well or studied for this exam properly and they haven't been able to clear.
Yes.
What public policy can be for them.
Right. Huge. Now, the main reason why public policy can be a big deal for them is because of the overlaps. We have spent 4 or 5 years studying subjects that have great overlaps with public policy, and hopefully candidates have developed that flair and the interest in the subject in general.
Okay.
So I think we're discussing it from the perspective of Plan B also to some extent.
Yeah.
So in fact, Plan B for me, I've been asked by my Telegram community members also to talk about Plan Bs. For me, if UPSC would have not worked out, I would have gone for public policy consulting under Niti Aayog, or I would have applied to the Capacity Building Commission. So that's the beauty, like you mentioned, that because it's so diverse and you can truly pick up any niche of public policy, whether it's women empowerment, security, biodiversity, environment, all of it, you truly can. If unfortunately UPSC doesn't work out, which is fine, it doesn't work out for majority of us, we could take up public policy roles. The importance is that, I wish and hope that over time what happens is even aspirants who didn't clear it, their stories also come out, and they're not just, sadly, because kya hota hai na, we get relegated to the background, and it's basically the failure tag ki nahi hua clear. Also because of the ways our social acquaintances might tag us as, oh, yes, ka to UPSC clear nahi hua. But somewhere even these people have a lot of experience, a lot of interest in nation building. So somewhere we need to find that, and I would love to contribute to that solution in any way on how do we tap into the experience and the skills that our aspirants have truly developed after 5-6 years. What do we do? So one thing that I believe UPSC is also doing is they put up our marks in public now after taking up a mission.
Yeah.
So something like that. But yeah, I think more stories do need to go out.
I think that's a major problem, right? The proverbial demographic dividend of the country ends up spending like 5 years preparing for an exam, which takes everything from you. And then you go back and the corporate might not accept you because there's fresh blood and yada, and etc. Let's go back slightly on the non-academic side. Let's stay put here. So while you were preparing, I'm sure that the way you were looking at India and the problems were slightly different, and you might have gone into rabbit hole sometime of just picking out what, not ye, wo. So, and I was discussing before we started the formal podcast about that Shekhari Samaj and agriculture problems in India. You come from Punjab. I think you've rooted from Punjab, right?
Roots are in Punjab.
Let's go. Ye main abhi padh raha hu, so like I'm fresh on this. So I want to understand. So what can we do different there with respect to agriculture? Problems kya hai coming from your perspective, the grounds up? थोड़ा बहुत बताओ कितने rabbit hole खोले तुमने इसमें?
So state-wise, of course, problems are different. I have some background in Maharashtra, 32, born and brought up in Mumbai. Punjab ke roots hain. And in general, my interest in environment. If I just 3-4 top problems of agriculture in India in general: resource utilization, water, grass, groundwater issues that are there. Second would be in terms of cropping patterns and habits. So because, for example, there are farmers in Maharashtra who are growing cotton and sugarcane because of historic habits and cropping practice. Can we empower them to actually make the transition towards millets, for example, or more sustainable cropping patterns? Third is price discovery. That's another big challenge for our farmers. Has been a huge demand in protests as well. Fourth, of course, is policy. And this was something very interesting to me when I was studying sustainability in agriculture. There was a scheme related to solar pumps.
Okay.
And the government started subsidizing solar pumps, which basically led to groundwater depletion at a faster rate. So basically, we were paying for our groundwater depletion through that scheme. So that is another challenge on how can we have policy that truly comprehensively addresses different challenges and is not working in isolation, because that scheme was focusing more on promoting solar energy.
Yeah.
While groundwater was getting depleted. So that was one. So these are the top four that come to mind. Of course, the use of pesticides and chemicals, another huge challenge. Consumers in general, the household conversation around food that we eat is about parents being very concerned about what they're putting into their bodies of their children, whether it's heavy metals, chemicals, pesticides. So that being a challenge. And then organic farming being an opportunity, but can you truly scale up organic farming? The costing issue, the issue of greenwashing around organic farming.
I think the next innovation in tech or in startup industry need to be coming in climate change or sustainability. I mean, everything else is done up,
Absolutely.
but like this is where deep tech.
Very important. We are now we're the last generation. So we're the first generation that is poorer than our parents. And we're the last generation that can actually do something about climate change in terms of reversing it, if at all. But after this is when it becomes a train wreck. So not just technology in climate change, but also I think policy. I think the technology will catch up speed, but are we responding with the policy solutions and the political will for climate change? That is very important.
Super. So while we're at it, whoever found this segment intriguing and interesting, do you have some good recommendations to read or to watch around this? If you want to know more about sustainability, agriculture issues in India, etc., etc.
Yes, there is a documentary called Eating Ourselves to Extinction on agriculture. That is one that was really fascinating. Professor Hackman, I'm forgetting, I think University of Chicago. I'll send you like the book that introduced me to climate change as well. What else is there? Racing Extinction is a beautiful documentary. We were trying to do a screening as well in Georgetown on it. Very good documentary on how we are racing extinction and how it affects us at a daily life. Now, the problem with extinction or biodiversity crisis is that at a day-to-day level, we don't think it affects us. Climate change में फिर भी हम सोच सकते हैं कि हाँ कोल्ड वेव हीट वेव से फर्क पड़ रहा है, गर्मी हो रही है, वो डे टू डे लेवल पे फर्क पड़ने लगेगा. बायोडाइवर्सिटी कैसे हमें डे टू डे में अफेक्ट करती है, that is something that I feel needs to be dinner table conversation. So Racing to Extinction is a great documentary for that.
Okay, send us the link on the WhatsApp, right? And then we'll put it on the.
I would love to.
Cool. So that said, we'll park this. We'll probably come back to this again. But now let's go to the preparation part. So now with so much sensitization around India, the aspects, climate change, and your pet peeves, sustainability, whatnot, what about the practicality of the preparation? So now, how did that start and what tools did it take, etc., etc.? वो journey थोड़ी.
बिल्कुल. इसको मैं 2-3 segments में करते हैं. I think one would be the rabbit hole challenge, like you mentioned earlier. And then secondly, of course, how does this vision help us prepare better?
Yeah.
So इस पे भी बात करेंगे. अब let's talk about how having a national vision can help. Prelims, I'll take it stage wise. So prelims में there is a series. So I, thankfully, because of one of my mentors, I believe I grasped PYQs very well. My focus was on ensuring that, I mean, you know, the 100 mark theory that they give us, do 100 marks, you'll clear it. I applied that to previous year questions and not external marks.
Okay.
That helped me identify a lot of patterns. And what happened is, with a lot of previous year questions, I realized that some of the questions you can solve using our accumulated knowledge and awareness. There's a very nice question on PET, polyethylene terephthalate. I hope I'm pronouncing it rightly. PET plastic का था. उसमें एक question था कि you can store alcohol in PET bottles or something like that. Now, अब वो polyethylene terephthalate का उन्होंने short form नहीं दिया था. But somewhere just इतना conversation हो रहा on PET plastic. And then combining it with the fact that if alcohol could be packaged in those bottles, we would be seeing it. So again, coming to truly feeling about issues at our core and thinking about how does that affect us as a country and as a society can help us be, so it comes down to a little bit of neuroscience, which I'm very interested in. I feel like we're able to absorb and recall facts. Our brain is able to do it better if we have a heart connection with it. So whether reading a fact generates that cortisol or that adrenaline or even the dopamine or the serotonin, if you truly feel about it, our neurons will wire and fire in a way that we'll be able to recall a fact better. So that I feel was something that helped me in prelims in two ways. To be able to recognize that some questions UPSC is basically trying to test our accumulated life's awareness, and it doesn't really ask us whether we've learned a fact or not. Are we able to apply it using our life's experience? And secondly, of course, just recall is better. Are
there more examples to this? Do you have more examples to this, Accord? It sounds interesting. I wonder if UPSC really thinks like this.
Yes.
But if you can find enough data points, what, you spoke with someone?
I have examples actually from my PYQ analysis, the patterns. I have an entire Excel sheet on this. Let me just.
You engineered it up, the Excel sheet. Please do so. Also maintain Excel sheet. And it's horrible for the content writers to work with us because we like everything is in Excel and pivot tables and
It's like, so funny that a lot of my prelims notes are on Excel. तो मैं क्या करती थी, active recall में help करता है. वो एक column hide करके उसको I would just ask myself and then sort हो जाता है. So my brain would work in patterns because I've been able to sort the facts in a way. But anyway, so I'll actually get back on that.
But were there more examples? Do you remember where
So
I have heard odd stuff from rankers. एक ने बोला कि English में समझ में नहीं आ रहा, read the Hindi stuff and automatically get stuff.
बहुत काम करता है. I agree completely. That helps. There was one, I'm forgetting the PYQ 2023 prelims था. Does a squirrel burrow or not? कुछ ऐसा था. Burrow and land. Some question around that.
Okay.
Pangolin curling up. A lot of the species questions that come, the biodiversity species that come, and this could be something because I'm interested in it. But if we just visualize, species में visualization बहुत help करता है. कोई documentary देखी होगी, कुछ देखा होगा. Marmot and pangolin था उसमें in the options, and it was about scales and an animal curling up to protect itself. कुछ ऐसा था. Visualization again helps in that. So
there was a question around which of these are nocturnal species, and I think उसमें एक option deer था, and then someone said कि यार इतने सारे मैंने incidents सुन रखे हैं कि deer भिड़ते रहते हैं गाड़ियों से when they're crossing the highway, so they are definitely nocturnal. Exactly.
It's
fun. Yeah, that's fun.
So just as a theme in PYQ, species I think can be solved with something. Another thing my mentor also pointed out that इसको आप visualize करोगे तो recall and retain भी better होगा species के case में. So that was something. What else? Day-to-day science. Daily science के जो questions होते हैं like the pet bottle question I mentioned. थोड़े और अभी याद नहीं आएंगे. But हाँ.
Do share your Excel,
yes, I'll do that.
Okay, so I get that. So your general nature of inquiry gets you through these things in prelims better. But then what screws up?
Prelims, then mains में content enrichment की बहुत बात होती रहती है. अब I was able to in essay in GS1, in GS3, 4 in fact, there was a fact that stayed with me because it hit my heart. I don't know what it was, but there were two facts here, and I've done a lot of strategy videos using this fact. Now, 70% of our prisoners in India are under trials. majority of that 70% are from low-income families, backward caste, women, and there's a disproportionate burden on our women under trials as well. This fact, I don't know, कुछ तो था इसमें जो मुझे बहुत hit कर रहा था, तो वो study करते हुए I found another solution here of the Sanganer open prison.
Okay.
That open prison, I saw a few quick documentaries. Now, again, coming back to being very efficient in our padhai, 2-3 minute ka documentary dekh liya, but non-UPSC documentary on it, 2-3 minutes. I saw that and I have a diary, like a diary I maintain on administrative ideas. वो शुरू से था कि जब बनेंगे तो ये implement करने का कोशिश करेंगे. तो वो उसमें लिख लिया. अब क्या हो रहा था? In my essay, GS, I didn't attempt this topic, but in 23 essay topic, there was something that a nation that has justice doesn't need charity. So my 70% under trial fact that I remembered, Sanganer open prison, that would be a good example here. GS4 ethics mein in terms of justice and inequality mein under trial and Sanganer ka as a case study. Mains में content कहीं भी लिखना है संगनेर लिख दिया box बना के तो वो एक बहुत अच्छा content enrichment हो गया. तो मुझे लगता है the content enrichment part, one of the sources is again from our ability to build that national vision, to truly feel about these problems and just studying in our free time. In fact, talking about studying in our free time, I feel like these solutions are also therapy during padhai. क्योंकि जब books से पढ़ रहे हैं,
is that prison system something which Gandhi had proposed and then someone picked it up? I was just reading it somewhere कि किसने कहा कि I'll make it my mission and I'll experiment this. I think a movie भी बनी थी इस पे, right? And I'm forgetting the movie.
Kala Patthar, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll tell you something very interesting.
हाँ मतलब I don't know कहाँ सुना मैंने कि जो the person who did it, he had to then fight a bull or something and he lost an eye.
अच्छा.
Okay, I'll research about it and give it to you because open prison was a concept by Gandhi and he said anyone can be reformed.
Right, absolutely.
That, right?
Reformative justice instead of punitive justice. Now I'll tell you something very interesting. ये administrative diary में था. And मैं जयपुर से दिल्ली आ रही थी. I passed the airport and Sanganer airport Sanganer में. And I was like, oh Sanganer याद आ रहा है. And this is after results. And I just dialed a few very helpful contacts and I said that sir, they knew कि clear भी हो गया. So they helped me connect with DG jail sir and DIG ma'am Jaipur. And
you visited that.
I visited that. And all I had to do was just tell them कि sir clear हो गया UPSC. And they were so welcoming. And their question was कि बेटा congratulations, we're so proud and happy, but आना क्यों है? Study you कर. And I was like, ma'am क्या बताऊँ सपना था.
Well, that's so cool.
I visited that and a life-changing experience. Matlab, they become human again. Those facts and the numbers that I studied for my UPSC journey, I could see those faces. I could see the spirits behind it. They're very proud people. The prisoners, they leave at 6 or 7 in the morning. They go on their livelihood and they come back and hazri lagti hai. And jab attendance hota hai, they have to basically mention their number and the staff also sort of says, okay, attendance ho gaya. But they're very proud of the work. And that's a reform, that's reformative justice. And the other fact is that the staff of the jail was also very, so public administration student, one of the questions I asked them was, how is training different for this? So they said that we have to treat them as family. So वही है again कि कैसे हम content enrichment में काम करेंगे, facts, how do you connect it with the heart? And then interview में I feel like there was and my mock feedback was also coming this way. A lot of them were saying that every time I end a question with an answer, I give my answer, I'm landing with a very positive, forward-looking vision, with a spark in my eyes and with a smile. And they said that my multi-dimensional understanding of a problem was good. And because of that, I could also suggest solutions very well.
Yeah.
And overall, they said that there's a spark in my eye. And wohi hai. Again, coming back to your question on how does having this vision help? So it helps in these 3 stages, interview being the most beautiful one, jahan par you can actually demonstrate your compassion and your vision for the country. But again, so having said this, we can also discuss the strategic part.
So first of all, interview में कितने हैं तुम्हारे?
Interview में, I feel like my strongest fortresses were the greatest heartbreaks for me. Interview में mocks में predictions were 195 plus, 200 plus, but I only got 183. तो
Did you know? I mean, did it not go well, or was it
it
like a
went
bomb?
very well. Sir, Honorable Chairperson, sir, and the members were very welcoming, very positive. Lots of encouraging head nods and smiles. We even shared so the Honorable Chairperson asked me to share a dog-related joke. मेरे DAF में one of my hobbies was mentioned as understanding stray dog behavior to address the crises जो होता है Delhi, Mumbai में, especially stray dogs का साथ जो problem है, conflict. So yeah, he said, can you share a dog-related joke? So we had a laugh there. I wasn't able to recall a joke. So I apologize. I said, I'm not able to recall a joke, sir. So he said, I'll tell you a joke. So he shared a joke. But very positive. My interview went very well. I was very happy. No, I mean, I can't think of one negative thing that happened. Also being able to really apologize and not, I mean, just say that I'm not aware of this. But it's very interesting. I would look it up. Sir asked about the Bechdel test. I wasn't aware of that.
What's that?
Yeah, so the test is basically on understanding the content of feminism in movies. And it tests how many times a woman character got to speak up in a movie.
Oh, that's nice.
So now, even though I said that I don't know it, Sir was very welcoming and he had a discussion on it that, this is the thing. And this came because he asked me, the Honorable Chairperson Sir asked me, give me examples of leaders who are conservative and who are liberal. So वहाँ पर थोड़ा सा I had to navigate in a very nice way, and I like that I got the opportunity to do that. So would you like me to share that answer?
Yeah, please.
So
I've
said
never heard interesting questions like these from
questions were very interesting. The first question I got was very interesting. I'll also talk about that. So he asked, tell me examples of conservative and liberal leaders. We were talking about leadership in general, good qualities and traits of a leader. So I said that, so I believe that ideology in general is a spectrum and it's never black and white. And if ever someone is labeled as conservative or liberal, it's because of the conditions they also had to deal with. So having said that, Subhash Chandra Bose ji was labeled as a conservative leader, while Jawaharlal Nehru ji was labeled as a liberal leader. So Sir smiled when he said that now you're being safe. I want you to give me examples of living, breathing, conservative and liberal leaders.
Nice. Okay.
And he said that, don't worry, there are no cameras here.
Okay, and
so
then?
I said, sure, sir. And I smiled and I said that, sir, again, based on the labels that I've given, our Honorable Prime Minister is often labeled as a conservative leader, while Indian National Congress is given the label of left of center. And he says, and then we also discussed how, again, to substantiate the point on how ideology can be a spectrum. So our Honorable Prime Minister is also conservative politically while being economically very, very liberal.
Interesting, yeah.
So that was a very positive conversation. So he said, yes, I agree with you that, it is a spectrum. It's never black and white. That was one. Yeah. That was a very interesting conversation. The first question he asked, in fact, and this is why I think that the interview went well, but I'm sure that there are other conditions, and there are also patterns in terms of how, what are the scores that are being given by different chairpersons. But of course, very esteemed panel, and I'm sure that they exactly know, I mean, we cannot question their judgment. So the first question, so I walk in, I've visualized and I've meditated sitting in that chair outside the room. The person who went, the candidate who went in front of before me came out shaking head, very negative, saying that, sorry, but then I had to sort of console him, and then
Oh, you consoled him. Okay,
yeah, I mean, friends ban jate ho aap. Jab wo 5 ka track, so I was the last one to go. And you have this little group, we're talking and everything, and by the end, your group starts shrinking because I was the last in the forenoon session. So tab tak you do build a little bit of camaraderie, I guess. So he came out and I just wanted to be like, don't worry, you can't judge andar jaake kya hota hai, so don't.
Very clear.
They were already in service, actually. Oh. And I want to be respectful because if they're watching this, they were already in service, and I'm not sure what exactly. I can't recall. Message to hua tha. But anyway, so what happened is, so I walk in, I have to visualize and meditate again, ki koi baat nahi. मैं जाती हूँ and sir, honorable chairperson sir says, Prabha, take a seat. And he says, so tell me who has been misguiding you? Very seriously, first question. And I smiled and I just look up and I say, and the reason he asked me, I knew exactly why. And so as an aspirant, you prepare that intro. Like, वो introduction तो आप prepare करके जाओगे. But this question came in, and in my head, I just told myself that, Prabha, this is a great opportunity to talk about your life. And that's how I visualized it. And again, when there's a great book on how to talk to people. In general communications, one cardinal rule they teach us is do not assume the negative, ever. So I did that. I put that into practice. And I just say that, sir, I should take responsibility for my own actions and decisions here. And it was my ambition and the goals I set for myself in life that made me take this very seemingly confusing journey. But so, with most respectfully, I should say that I don't think it was misguided for my own self, because it made me the person I am today and helped me sit here, eligible to learn from this esteemed panel. So then he relaxed and very welcoming, positive.
10-pointer answer. I was speaking with like in one of these let me just recollect. क्या था Bhargav. So I think he'll also get an IRS rank this year.
अच्छा,
तो
very nice.
वो कहता कि he's son of an IAS officer. His mother is from Maharashtra cadre. And he said I was the most unlikeliest candidate to even think of UPSC because I was consistently second from the bottom in my class since the beginning. And shouldn't have done this, but I did anyway. In my fourth attempt, I cleared. And he was in the interview, and kuch to wo diplomatically correct answer de rahe the, and then the panel said that do not talk like Rajendra Nagar aspirant. Just tell me what you feel. And then he did, and his answer was good. I liked what he said.
Yeah.
But interesting conversations. Okay, so great. So your love for the land and your inquiry gets you through pre-mains and interview with these positives. What are the places where it shatters? What are the places where practicality should have been taken into consideration, where you couldn't, you didn't, and eventually you did?
Very important. Thank you. So how can it actually impact strategic, pinpointed preparation? I used to take a lot of time in the newspaper. बहुत ज़्यादा time, because ideas शुरू हो गए, पढ़ रहे हैं. Rabbit hole पे rabbit hole, research चल रहा है, 40 tabs खोले हुए हैं browser में. So newspaper में बहुत time लगता था, and for that I strategically started going to resources that would just laser focus my prep. So what happened is, now a lot of students ask on my Telegram channel that is it better to refer to compilations or go for the newspaper? So I actually can speak to people who are worried that they're taking 2 to 3 hours to read the newspaper. What I did is I would look at daily compilations just to tell myself that this is what was important in today's newspaper. Everything else was clutter. So that was something that I had to really build focus on. Secondly, I think not to make the preparation very exotic. Like, sure, we have a vision, sure, we have ideas hain, or agar background hai thoda academia mein, to we want to study the most advanced books. So initially, first 2-3 attempts, one big mistake I made was I undermined the importance of NCERTs and foundational books, because I thought कि ये तो स्कूल में पढ़ा हुआ था, कुछ और एडवांस पढ़ते हैं. But it was in my last attempt where, because of my mentor, I focused on NCERTs.
In your last attempt, you gave your head to NCERTs?
Yes.
Okay. That's
because till then, everything was like, nahi, advanced wala uthate, kitni badi colossal mistake hai ye. And it of course goes back to guidance also. Like, I think I also submitted to the fact that, okay, I should just get guidance kyunki khud se nahi ho raha hai. So again, just because you're a master's in public policy, undermining the exam and not respecting competition, that was a big mistake I made in 2016. So last attempt, focusing on NCERT, not going for very advanced books, not going for too many resources, basically simplifying the strategy. That is another, I think, a solution that helped me from that rabbit hole of.
Interesting. But that rabbit hole thing also gives the flavor and the whole fun in the preparation, right? Because
absolutely,
like agriculture, it appears such a dull and boring topic unless you have opinions thrown at you by economists and other people, and then some interesting trivia which you follow it. And then, of course, you need to have okay, boss, these are the MSP crops and you need to know about them, etc., etc. But there has to be a story in your head. Otherwise, this preparation does take a toll,
It does.
when you keep doing it. So, which is a segue I take to the most important mental health crisis of India, especially for the aspirants and all that. Did it happen with you? Did you have times when you just plunged into despair? Ki, are my decisions even making sense at a level where they should? Because I think it took you like 8 years, like you said, right? 8 to 10 years to find your way in here. And you had tasted waters across the spectrum, right? So a lot of stuff which you could have gone deep into, but then you clawed back and you thought, ki nahi, UPSC it is. What were those moments where it all became, like raw and real for you? Ki, yaar, ye kya ho raha hai?
Bilkul. In fact, I think most of our rank holders are also now, because it's such a big platform, we are using our voice to share stories. And a lot of us have created a Telegram channel, which I think is great. In my case, I felt like I could give a voice to mental health, like you mentioned. So that is something I am focusing on now. My own journey with mental health, and of course, to really give the disclaimer that I'm not a medical professional, whatever I say comes from things I went through. A lot of it is a battle with yourself. खुद के साथ बहुत बड़ी जंग है, और खुद को self doubt, those demons that are constantly nagging at you. Now, in my case, I had given up on job offers from international development organizations. And you constantly keep asking, like, okay, and so in my case, what happened is I'm sitting in that room on my study desk while I'm also seeing problems in which I could actually contribute in real time. COVID, in fact, 2021 and 2020 and 21 was somewhere where it really hit me, because my NGO was also working as the nodal NGO under Niti Aayog for COVID-19 relief in Ayodhya. And at that time, while we were on the front lines, I decided to not give those 2 attempts. But I was also seeing that, I'm spending a decade, like 8 years, 10 years, studying from books, where I could be doing very tangible, real-time social impact stuff. That was the real problem in that sense. और वहां पर बहुत बड़ा एक identity crisis हो जाता है. For anyone who's also fresher, I don't think this is a problem just for people like us who've gone through the policy experience in the policy world, but also freshers. Whether it's parental pressure or social pressure, you're watching your friends get into lucrative jobs or even getting married and all of that. It does take a toll, but what helped me, and I think this is applicable to so-called veterans and freshers as well, what helped me is to truly reduce the stakes of the exam, not make it about life and death. Because I was often told by circles where UPSC was the ultimate panacea for everything. They would say that, oh, there's no other profession better than clearing the UPSC exam. Not even being a public servant. वो तो vocabulary में नहीं आता है. जब हम बोलते हैं तो usually अगर intentions clear नहीं है, तो वही होता है कि IAS बनना है या मतलब बाबू बनना है and all of that. But public servant, I think, is a good vocabulary or a vision to have. तो वो disenchantment हो रहा था. Now, telling ourselves that it is just one means to become a public servant. So we don't need to be a civil servant to do public service. And UPSC is not the end of it. It is just one platform that will open up doors. But if our heart is in the right place and we really want to do public service, there will be other solutions. That reduce the stake. उससे क्या हुआ, जब 2023 का prelims का shock आया था, somewhere at the back of my head, I just had to remind myself it's just an exam. You'll be fine. Things will open up, and it was my last attempt. So I had to tell myself that things will only open up from here, whatever happens. So yeah,
talk खुद ही करते हो, या are there people who help you around? Like, this is a lot of mature talk, and I'm assuming that you probably would find a need to have people who speak the same tongue and they are candid about their own life decisions and so on and so forth. Because life happens to everyone.
Absolutely.
You're not. Were there people, friends, close relatives who are also?
And, thank you actually, sir, for asking this, because it's so important. When I come on a pedestal, on a platform, and I say that, oh, be positive and self-talk karo and everything, I have to give this disclaimer. So thank you for this question, that positive self-talk is only possible if you have the right ecosystem around you. Otherwise, those demons overpower. तो मेरे लिए, because my parents and my brother and my sister-in-law were the first layer of giving me that vocabulary and telling me, showing me that vision कि yes, there is great life beyond the exam. My extended family members shielded me a lot from societal pressures, social pressures जो भी आते थे, extended family members, cousins, they were shielding me. Friends, there were former aspirants who were also founding members of my NGO, Deepa Singh, Abhishek Singh. They spoke on mental health very well. So it's important. Mentors who are also focusing. So a lot of my mentors actually, by the end of it, started telling me that, Prabha, for you, this is not a game of knowledge or facts. It is a game of mental health. It is a game of mental endurance. And that's the turn it took. 2022 onwards, I started prioritizing mental health as much as my studies, because all the way from 16 to 22, I was just telling myself that I'm not going to waste those 10 minutes meditating, because I should be focusing on that fact absorption in that 10 minutes. I was telling myself that I'm not going to sleep more than 5-6 hours, because I would rather absorb that much fact and study in that time. So in the last 2 attempts, it became more than just a side note. It became a strategic choice. And my gosh, it gave me returns.
Okay, what did you do? Things that you can share.
So,
and I'm asking you this because this year this is the first time we got a rank 2 from a working professional who was only enrolled in our program, which is essentially just mentorship and nothing else. Animesh, right?
Yes.
And I met with him. I had a long dinner with him, and I kept asking, "ऐसा क्या किया तूने? मतलब ऐसा क्या mentorship cracked it up for you?" And he was like, "That's all I need. If you have to really spend time on preparing, make sure you get a good mentor and stuff like that."
Absolutely.
But from his side, he was very disciplined. Like I think he didn't used to read news daily. So Samachar Manthan karke, we have a program which does weekly summaries and makes you write 5 answers. He used to do it religiously for 50 weeks straight up. And that's not a normal feat. And I said, ki engineer hoke itni discipline kaise aa rahi hai, boss? Like, you guys are supposed to trivialize things beyond the point ki ho hi jayega and all that. And he said something about those marks kept giving me the kick. It kind of became like, okay, तो मैं सही जा रहा हूँ, तो मेरा जोश जो था वो exponentially grow हुआ, even if my marks were fluctuating. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So there were some things he was doing, became a part of his ritual, which kind of helped him on the right focus, whatever. And then there was Ishani. I was speaking with her, and she said she had a cookie jar concept ki दिन में कुछ भी अच्छा जा रहा है, she'll write about it and park it out in a cookie jar, which I took literally to be a cookie glass jar. And I knew it's your diary, you write it in your diary, you just call it.
No, it's a good technique.
And like such, I would say, cute, quirky, very personal, stuff which, another guy who said I used to talk to my soft toy. You just tell him, ye kar raha hu main, whatever. Someone used to talk to the pet, and this used to be a daily ritual. Animesh का एक डांस वीडियो वायरल हो रखा है अभी,
अच्छा
है ना, from his engineering days, I think. And he said, "Boss, still dance every day 15 minutes before I go to sleep."
How cool.
Because that's one happy thing I do, whatever the day. Right? So, and these are the things you never get to hear. These are the, your small things which keep you sane, which you never get to hear from the rankers. So you just keep thinking, as an aspirant, keep boss, I have to be like at Zen level, very stoic and whatnot.
Yes.
Which is such a disservice to really your emotions and the release. So tell me, what were the things which kept you in the right space?
Okay, so I'm visualizing my day and how it used to be for this. And this is something, again, I'm talking about. Candidates are actually talking about this even on my Telegram channel, which is so great, because now people are realizing this is important. Din mein, so I'll start from the night before. Just like Ishani's cookie jar, I would journal, and I would just write in quick journal, matlab 5-10 minutes mein bas brain dump kar diya of 2 things: my fears and my things that I'm proud of in the day.
Okay.
मैंने कभी भी खुद को ये नहीं बोला कि I'm a failure if I didn't clock 12-14 hours. I never labeled. I improved vocabulary. I also reduced the venom that I give myself as negative self-talk. तो वो journal में fears रहते थे. तो basically positive, what am I proud of? वो रहता था. I finished a particular topic. I did my previous year questions. I did well in the PYQ simulation, all of that. I exercised. There were days when नहीं होता था पढ़ाई, but लिख दिया ठीक है. I made my bed. I exercised and I laughed with my parents. That's it. So things I'm proud of. साइमल्टेनियसली उसके बाद fears नोट डाउन करती थी कि आई एम प्राउड बट आई एम ऑल्सो स्केयर्ड ऑफ CSAT में नहीं वो करना, या फिर prelims में some random shock that might come. I'm scared of the fact that I've not cleared prelims, and this might just be another day, another year where I don't do it in my last attempt. So these things. So fears लिख के I've just done a release. So I think that journaling helped. The night before, I would also plan for the next day. Because so once I've done things I'm proud of, things I'm fearful of, what am I going to do the next day to address these things? Next day का planning एक रात पहले हो जाता था, because I don't want to wake up with that mental burden of really thinking of what to do, because that was the biggest inertia in the previous attempts. And things are not strategic without a plan in the previous night. So ये होता था सुबह उठ के. So meditation also 2022 I've actually started doing great meditation religiously थोड़ा सा. Simple techniques. The next day again, wake up, not look at the phone for the first 1 hour. That was a ritual. I would also keep the phone away during my bedtime hours. मैं दूर रख देती थी. Not looking at the phone 2 hours before sleeping. So that would be the time where I would work with hard copy notes and previous year film papers. So basically digital and screen time detox was a big part of the routine. Next day, would look at the plan, execute it. I also would take naps in the afternoon. So that based on neuroscience only, that 20-minute power naps, according to Dr. Huberman, was that it helps with the neuron wiring and firing and consolidation of memory.
There is a good book, Why We Sleep, by some guy called, I think, Matthew Walker or something. Must read.
Okay, Why We Sleep. I've noted that down.
Oh, but we also have a ritual. We send books to our anchor. So I'll send you one of these books.
Oh, really? Yeah. Thank you. I got Poor Economics, and I got Fukuyama from Civilsdaily as well.
Yeah. Roy and Real has its own separate curation.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
So sleep was something, again, I mentioned earlier, that compromised hi rehta tha. But last 2 years, not just sleeping 7 to 8 hours, but also reframing how I thought about it. I removed the guilt out of sleeping, which I used to do earlier. I used to feel very guilty, and I used to shame myself. How can you sleep for 7, 8 hours? You're feeling sleepy all the time and all of that. I reframed that and told myself that my sleep is important for one reason, because when I'm awake, I am consolidating my facts. I'm absorbing my facts, but it is only in my sleep that I'm wiring my brain to be able to hold them, so I can apply them during prelims, mains, and interview. So that was a reframing that I had to actually build. So I think I actually educated myself on mental health, followed thinkers like Andrew Huberman, Mel Robbins. So that was another therapy. पढ़ाई के टाइम पे अच्छा लगता था वो सब देखना. 5-second rule हो गया. उठने में problem आ रही है. From the Mel Robbins basically says that, and it derives from sports routines, sports rituals, where we have to run and they count us down. They say 3, 2, 1, and they shoot. So she has derived the 5-second rule from that if you're just having trouble waking up from your bed, just count yourself down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and immediate. And it worked for the first 2 months to me, to an extent that after a while it became a ritual, that it wasn't an external exercise. I didn't feel like, oh, ye karna hai, ye habit ho gaya. Cold showers helped.
Nice.
I started that.
Nice.
Then ye sa mental health routine mein basically.
And you used to study alone, or you had a group of friends who were preparing together?
Great story. Prelims was all the way alone.
Okay.
But also with my mentors classes, we used to do oral classes daily, and sir would ask questions, but having that one other competitive person who could answer questions more than me made me prepare better for the next day. So that helped. So peer group definitely helps. In mains, I had a beautiful peer group. We used to write mains answers with Sachin sir, and he would, so we found, I'll tell you the story here. We are waiting for our results, and after mains, we set up our group for interview, and I just text all of them and I say that, yaar, interview ki padhai shuru kar dete hain. Results ka dekha jayega, let's just start. And every single day we meet, we discuss, we pretend to be the mock panel. Every single night at 10 PM, we ask each other questions from DAF and from current affairs. The day of results, we had each other, मतलब results के 2-3 दिन पहले पता लग जाता है आने वाला है. We had each other to vent and everything. उन 3 दिन तो पढ़ाई भी नहीं हुई. इंटरव्यू के लिए एंड सब वेट कर रहे हैं रिजल्ट की शीट का एंड I'm waiting on the Telegram, on the WhatsApp group that we have, and they just text saying in all six of us.
Oh,
Six
nice.
all six of us made it to interview.
Oh, that's so nice.
That day was so magical, and I truly built on the faith of peer group. Also because mains के time पे जब करते थे एक दूसरे का वो देखते थे हम आंसर कॉपीज देखते थे. So rank 61 खुशहाली, rank 118 Siddharth, rank 281 Suramya, rank 289 me, rank 451 Abhijit, who's already IRMS.
Oh, all of you guys cleared from that group?
So
Are
all
you
of us
kidding?
cleared, all of us reached interview.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Nishant, he didn't clear, he didn't make it to the list, but he's very close. So अब लगे हुए हैं उसको भी खींचने में अंदर. We're also working with him for prelims and mains.
Oh, that's so superb. ये तो पहले बताना चाहिए था. I have never seen such a 5 to 6.
I know, right?
Success rate.
And blessed, like we were there for each other's mental health. We were there for each
How
other.
did you guys find each other? How did you
We were
happen
in the same mains master stroke program, which was a free mains answer writing program. And we would look at it. So the good thing about that was we could see each other's peer copies. Best answers dikhte the. So there were 50 of us who got selected through an entrance exam. And ultimately...
Oh, this is that Reddit ka group kuch to, is it that?
No, it's actually run by Sachin Arora, sir.
Acha.
And it's free.
Okay.
So हमने रोज लिखा है. I remember after prelims we have written every single day from 7:30 to 9:30 or 10 sharp. We have done our mains का वो उससे काफी फायदा हो गया था. And then just seeing each other's copies really helped. So getting that good peer group is really important. उसमें थोड़ा सा
I think
work ethic, value
the
system
5 people you work with, wale say old proverbs, and most of those come true in life.
Really?
When you actually live through them. Oh, that's so nice. So I was thinking of revamping, not just revamping, but like adding more substance to the mentorship, and not just the acad and the testing part of it, but all these things. So we used to do Friday salons karke, inspired from the French Revolution, where we'll get down like this and give a topic or a reading a previous night, and then ask people to just chat it out. So qualifying people, and then jo bhi karna chahta, because that also gives a sense of a flavor. Doing these things also are important. Ye means answer writing kari aur fir ek dusre ko copy dikhai and you learn from. That is interesting. I think, but it's superb. 5 out of 6 of you guys got into services this year. I think Khushali and Siddharth both have come to the office.
Yes, they have. They did it together, in fact.
They did it together. Yes, true. That's true. Okay, so I think this is one of the most important things then, apart from the other stuff. Okay, you should have a vision for India, then you should be more practical with your studies, and then eventually find a peer group which makes sense to you and works.
Yes.
What else? So
I think
if
the freshers have a little more luxury here. So if they start this, jo vision wala part hum discuss kar rahe the, if someone's decided in their bachelor's, or there are aspirants who've been deciding it since 6th, 7th standard, who have a vision, especially UP, my friends in UP, North India, they have this vision 6th, 7th standard से करना है. तो I think उनके लिए तो ये luxury मतलब है. आप first few years of your bachelor's, they can do it.
Luxury क्या है इसमें? Didn't get it.
मतलब now here there's this contrast. I'm being called for talks on strategy sessions and I asked the age range of the audience. A lot of them are 4th, 5th, 6th standard. So for them, I'm like, मैं competitive examination के लिए कुछ नहीं बोलने वाली हूँ. What you have to do is just develop a very wholesome personality.
Yeah.
And that's what we focus on. So reading an age-appropriate newspaper, reading age-appropriate material on just developing public leadership and a vision for country. तो ये था. तो अगर शुरुआत से ही विजन है तो वो लग्जरी रहता है of not. Now again, you have the luxury if you don't worry about the mechanical aspects of UPSC preparation, which unfortunately at 8th and 9th standard, people are peddling that also.
कहाँ हो रहा है यार ये JEE और NEET का तो मुझे पता है, but are you serious? UPSC के लिए भी लोग 8th से शुरू कर रहे हैं?
कर रहे हैं, हो रहा है.
Disaster. And then they would take a BA program so that they quickly write the paper. 3 साल
They
में
do that, yes. So even bachelor's program decisions are made on whether or not they can study 12, 13, 14 hours a day or not. ये भी होता है. But bachelor's is the greatest time, मतलब formational years of our life, where we can actually become leaders.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned.
Opportunities इतनी होती हैं तो वही थोड़ा सा एक लगता है, बुरा लगता है
I think people sometimes look very short term. Like I was telling you, right? I was rank 3 last year. Uma was our mains faculty in a manner of speaking. And I had a chat with her when she was in Labasna, and I asked her ki Uma और कौन से sessions हो रहे हैं, who all have visited you guys, and she just played it like very normal ki Rohit, it's nothing that big a deal. There's stuff that we need to do, so people relevant to that field will come, and whatever we find important we get it. And I was like, wow, that's cool.
Beautiful.
Gone was my clickbait moment. I would have asked, अच्छा प्रसून जोशी है क्या बोला उसने, tell me something interesting. But I just realized that perspective comes only when you've really gone through all the stages of your life, dedicated to what that was worth for, and then gradually come to things, because it's a huge journey, yaar. I mean,
Yes.
Right? There's no shortcuts.
सही में है ना, अभी इनफैक्ट काफी सेशंस में kids are very excited, so when we go there will be photographs and students will like get up, वो जो usually जो दिखता है.
अच्छा बताओ, what was some of the interesting, so I'll tell you one. Animesh went to Odisha and he was offered a movie right straight off the bat. So start now.
इतनी मेहनत की है.
So what were some of the interesting things you faced when you went out to chat?
So I was prepared to face this when you enter and the students will get up and they will start taking photographs. And I remember that I really had to use the restroom. And I was going from Civilsdaily wala chat to another platform, which was just 2 minutes away. And in our conversation with Civilsdaily, we lost track of time. It was that interesting. And I said that, oh gosh, I have to go. And this was where I had to go, was the first student interaction I would have, because I had requested, I was like, please give me students, nahi to sirf video pe hi ho raha hai, meko interact karna hai bachchon se. So I'm like, no, I have to go. There are kids who are waiting and I don't, abhi unke prelims bhi honge. I don't want them to waste time. So मैं भागी, and Civilsdaily team was also very kind and they were like, yeah, वापस आके करते हैं. And I ran and I go and I had to use the restroom. And I was like, I'll just go use. But so when you enter, they start treating you like an officer already.
Yeah.
I have to tell them that we are not officers yet. हम probationary officers भी नहीं है. हम बस एक AIR है. That's it. तो जब कि नहीं बैठ के coffee and all, I was like, I should just meet the kids and rest, whatever. So I enter, and usually they have that recording ready and everything. But I entered without. And they were like, oh no, she's already here and recording everything. And I'm like, sit, it's okay. I stand on the podium, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm late. आप लोगों का prelims है mostly, I don't want you to waste time. तो I asked them कि ये कितनी देर से बैठे हो, क्या किया उस time में. So they were like, बस ऐसे पढ़ रहे थे. I was like, previous year question देखो 2023 के, and just allow me to use the washroom, I'll just come back. तो ये एक हुआ where मतलब this sort of moment where you have to remind yourself that अब responsibility ही बड़ी है. अगर कुछ हुआ है, people ask us कि okay, what how has life changed and everything.
Yeah.
बहुत responsibility बढ़ गई है. We have to be very mindful of how we behave and what we say. And it's such a prestigious institution, the custodian of the merit system of India. We truly have to show that, yes, we are there for a reason. So it's more of that reminder. So then I come back and then, of course, kids are excited. They want to take photographs and all of that. And I'm like, all this is fine. Hold me accountable. In the next 5 years, if you've heard that I want to do something, if I have an idea, because abhi, we are bubbling with ideas. Then we will go into training, we'll go into administration. Then the daily firefighting will start, which I've seen in Ayodhya with my other policymaker friends who I've seen work. अब क्या होता है, daily administration में firefighting बहुत करनी पड़ती है.
Yeah.
And for good reason. We are given that responsibility. But at the same time, there's also beautiful scope for policy, innovation, and ideation. So that is again a hope and another responsibility, that while we are dealing with the firefighting of administration on a day-to-day basis, are we able to truly apply those ideas and visions that we had during preparation?
Yeah. Have you read any of the books or memoirs by bureaucrats?
I have one which is pending. The Ambassadors Club padna hai. Ek wo padna hai. The other ones are now again saved on my list because that is one thing I want to do. The other, so there were 2 tasks I had between training and now I'm training. Reading these memoirs. I have a list. Abhi I'm not able to recall, but the other one is really reading up on the All India Services Conduct Rules and the Civil Service Conduct Rules. वो एक बार पढ़ने हैं. Especially because now, given the platform, a lot of us want to leverage social media with responsibility. even in interviews, UPSC interviews, we were asked our thoughts on social media.
Achha. Were you asked a question?
In a mock, I was asked, and the chairperson was very happy about. I was not asked in the final, but I think transcripts में है ये question. And mock में मुझे पूछा था कि पहले पूछा था what is your take on celebrity IAS culture and its impact on aspirants. So I said that it is. I don't believe that it is helpful in any way for aspirants because it can cause misplaced prioritization. I mean, again, coming back to the national vision we should have, celebrity culture and videos only misplace our priorities. Then the other panel member asked that, okay, you've spoken of the aspirants pay effect. What about social media as in general? What are your thoughts on that in the hands of administrators? So for that, I have a very clear, I mean, I'm sure I'll learn a lot during training as well. But I think in the era we live in, social media is important. Ministry of External Affairs has done a great job in actually extradition operations, rescue operations. So it's a great tool, but at the same time, if we ensure that our department and our team and organizations work, value system, and public services, the citizen charter, that is made available instead of us creating a personality cult around one individual. I think that's the North Star that our usage of social media should have. So while
you're saying opaque organizations and charters versus cults, is that the decision we need to take? But we find people, Jay Shankar and all these guys, he's not in bureaucracy now, but like people, there's a need for a cult, there's a need for a following, right? Someone you would follow and you'll hear the voice of reason from that person. So inevitably it will go into the persona. It's
so
very
the thing with Honorable Minister of External Affairs also is that now he's a public personality. But as long as he was a civil servant, we didn't know much about him.
True, that's true. I mean, उस time पे तो था भी नहीं इतना social.
इतना था भी नहीं, exactly.
This COVID के बाद it has just gone up.
I think I mean now as very fresh public servants now, I think वही North Star है कि personality cult ना बने हमारे around, but हमारा जो काम है, ideas हैं, what is our duty and our organization mission. So another idea that people are giving is that accounts can be position based, office based. So the DM holds an account on Facebook. And then that keeps shifting based on who the new DM is.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Stuff like that.
Interesting. Here, so let's say you do get IRS, and what's your sense? What service will you get?
Estimations are showing, like, not to speculate before ministry actually gives us anything, but estimations are showing IRS Customs. My first preference was Customs.
Acha. And then उसमें क्या opportunities मिलेंगी तेरे को in that service to work on?
So this was a discovery process. And this again goes back to the mental health of aspirants, because what will happen is first we try to get AIR1. Sub aspirant के उसमें वो folder बना होता है preparation में AIR1. True. And before results, all we pray for is please make sure my name is in the list. That's the prayer everyone does. फिर क्या होता है, नाम दिख जाता है पर रैंक काफी नहीं लगता, फिर लगता है कार्डर नहीं मिल रहा खुद का, सर्विस नहीं मिल रही, like all of these considerations. So when the results actually came, I remember my parents sitting behind me and PDF is open, I'm typing my name and I see my name and then immediately look at the rank. Every aspirant dreams of being in the top ranks or just getting the first preference. So I just turn and look at my parents and I say that काम करने का मौका मिलेगा. And they start dancing. They're just like rejoicing. And I'm like, rank to सुन लो. And they said कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, it's okay. So I think I was trying to understand why I'm not happy. And that's the human greed and ambition, I think. And it took me 2 to 3 days on a process of discovery, so in thinking of why I'm not happy, mainly my issue was that I had certain passion projects. When it comes to IS, I wanted to work on sustainable development, women's empowerment, all of that. Yeah. With IFS, I was looking forward to climate change negotiations. I was looking forward to getting India renewable technologies, getting climate finance, all of that. With Indian Police Service, I was looking forward to prison reforms, women's safety, all of that. With IRS, I didn't know. But initially the self-doubt in my head was, oh, you may not have a passion project. But then later I just told myself, you may not know enough. So I had to speak to seniors. I met, and they were very gracious in giving me time. And that's when the discovery happened that, wow, the service is going to be interesting.
Okay.
And the other discovery that it doesn't matter. The service and the rank after a point will be a very good platform for us to just implement our ideas, and good work will be recognized. So the
There was
passion
a guy, I
projects.
think one of my juniors from college, he chose IAAS after the IAS rank. So his preference was IAS and then likely IAAS. So he had
Wow.
PS looks good, but I'm not cut out for that. IFS, I don't want to go out of India. And like IRS bhi nahi karna. IAAS, I think, and I asked him, क्यों भैया? And he was like engineer from वही IIT. तो मैंने कहा तू क्या पागल है क्या तूने मतलब इतना मेच्योरिटी दिखा दी कि बिल्कुल मतलब सोशली एक्सेप्टेड रैंक्स ही और प्रेफरेंसेस ही डाला था ही लाइक IAS he researched about कि it's still a very professionally run service within the services
Nice.
and a lot of stuff that I can't recollect now but I've seen people being that meticulous about the research and picking even before the
Yes.
results. Very
नहीं तो
good.
मेरा इतना नहीं था, मेरा वही टॉप वाला था, and discovery happened after result where I actually had to sit down and reflect and learn from my seniors, officials in service right now. So the discovery that I did with regards to this service, if I get it, if I'm lucky enough now, I could work with, so my interest in wildlife, in environment in general, wildlife smuggling would be one with customs. Secondary, between results and interview, I had the chance to go to Punjab.
Okay.
And I had the chance to actually speak to people who were on the recovery, path of recovery from addiction.
Okay.
And I feel very strongly about it because neuroscience में interest है, तो dopamine कैसे काम करता है, वो सब कर ही रही थी for preparation. I really like to tap into dopamine for focus. तो neuroscience में interest था, तो वो सब discussion हो रहा था in terms of addiction recovery. So the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking of, okay, what will my passion project be? It was on narcotics control, and not from the
In the
enforcement.
IRS, within the IRS, let's say if you get a
Customs.
Acha, haan, correct.
So, and not from the, of course, from the enforcement, it will be great responsibility, but also from the preventive side. Nasha Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. So imagine a person who's supposed to enforce, but could also bring the preventive side from the neuroscience perspective.
Interesting.
So
अच्छा, this
that,
dopamine thing that you spoke about Huberman and all that, तूने कुछ क्या इसमें deep research करी है क्या? I mean, this is an interesting thing. Can we like have a webinar specifically on this
would love
topic?
to. Yes,
Na?
yes, I would love to do that. Dopamine for a lot of us, when we first hear about it, is related to addiction. But dopamine, to me, when I started studying about it, is a state of mind. And there is a baseline dopamine that we have in our bodies. Hacking that can really help with attention and focus, because what happens is every time we do a task, we do get a dopamine hit. Now, if I relate it to, let's say, a distraction from the focus we want to do, an aspirant who's trying to study, but now is gone into binging on social media reels or is binging on Netflix. If we do that too much, we are setting our dopamine level requirement at a higher level. तो अब हमें actually body को satisfy करने में और ज़्यादा कुछ करना होगा, because हमने इतना binge watching कर लिया है कि something ordinary is not going to satisfy our dopamine need. So that's where the dopamine issue comes from the neuroscience perspective for a UPSC aspirant. How I solved it was that I found ways to have dopamine on the day-to-day basis, whether it was exercise, whether it was really just even striking off a to-do list item. I started training my body into releasing dopamine from that. Yes, I finished my PYQs on this topic. But that takes time. And that takes awareness that, yes, even this is a good way to hack our dopamine instead of running for substance abuse or instead of binge watching on Netflix.
Nice. Okay. And you mentioned about hacking the prelims as well, right? You did all that Excel thing and eventually you cleared the prelims. What was the score like from the baseline?
I actually am waiting myself. I have to see this because मेरा forest वाला fill था. तो वो एक issue हो रहा है. Marksheet नहीं आई है because we're waiting on forest
Okay,
results.
mota, you must have gone and...
From my tally, I am crossing 90 for GS.
Okay.
And CSAT is also very comfortable, 90 के करीब है.
Okay, cool. So this Raw and Real is not about academics, but I would love to do a proper academic webinar with you,
Okay.
wherein something which you really mastered, and this dopamine thing, where
Yes.
you trained, anything which can help an aspirant
Let's
accord,
do that.
है ना? So what are the
Sure.
subjects that you really mastered in, could be in anything, prelims, mains, koi bhi, something which you can just talk about in hours,
Yes.
show some stuff that you did.
So I'll go stage wise. In prelims, PYQs.
Okay.
Being able to apply logical analyses on certain statements with which made me less scared about knowledge deficit. So it made me very comfortable that, okay, I should be able to tap into my logical estimations and my life's accumulated knowledge if there's a question that seems difficult, but may not rely on factual knowledge.
Perfect.
That is one.
That would be
In
good.
terms of subjects, I enjoy polity, governance. I enjoy public administration. I find it very beautiful. And I think wo, last tak aate there were suggestions that please change your optional, it's not scoring. But nahi, public administration tha shuru se.
And how much did you score finally?
254.
That's good, bad. I don't know how to.
I've had heartbreaks with my own fortress subjects that I enjoy and I'm good at.
Okay.
I enjoyed essay because essay for me was therapy from the regular studies. अच्छा लगता था लिखना and ideation करना, creative. थोड़ा सा एक essay, in fact, coming back to our earlier discussion on having a national vision, I felt like that was my stage.
Release in a
Yes.
manner.
So essay, GS2, polity, social justice, ethics. I enjoyed ethics. My gosh, another therapy subject for me.
Okay.
So yeah, these were some subjects I enjoyed.
Cool. I mean, I'll circle back on this, but kya kar sakte hain? But that will have to contain that dopamine thing, the whole education around and awareness around
Yes.
that. So we'll do
We
that.
will, whatever we do, I mean, I think mental health, we can just keep a chunk for mental health. For sure.
Yeah, and we'll try to keep it real so people can actually learn, acha, ye kar sakte ho, stuff that worked for you, the time it took for it to work for you, so that people have that perspective. Awesome. I had a lovely chat. I usually have a series of questions with me, Raw and Real KBs, but we were trying to be slightly more intelligent about, but I think it was lovely to have a freewheeling chat.
Yes. I think that's the thing. I love unstructured conversation.
Yeah, I think, yeah, great stuff. Cool. Awesome. Thanks to be here. Anything else that you would want to leave this particular podcast with? Anything about the chat you felt great, or anything about your preparation which you would just want to reiterate again? And then we.
No, again, I think we were discussing regarding this chat, we were discussing your vision for this particular segment. And truly, thanks to the team and to you, these conversations on how to humanize the preparation is very important, just so that toppers and rankers like me are not put on a pedestal. There was a very heartbreaking comment I saw on one of my videos where someone said that सबका अगर background इतना अच्छा है तो हमारा क्या होगा? And I actually did put up, I have to, in fact, reply. There was another one I replied to. I have to reply to them saying that it doesn't matter. Their background and their unique journey is theirs to own. And when people say this, they're mostly worried about the personality round. I truly want to just assure everybody, because it shouldn't be a fear of yours that for aspirants that you're even worried during prelims and mains thinking ki, oh, hamare DAF mein kya likhenge? There are prelims candidates who are asking me this question. It doesn't matter. UPSC during the personality round wants to see 2-3 things with regards to background. They want to see if we own it, whether or not it was rich or just very narrowed. They want to see if we own it and are confident about it. Second, they want to see if we learned or we showed trainability through that background, chahe jaisa tha.
Okay.
So, for example, me or someone with a life experience as rich as one from rural India has to be given very different treatment, and UPSC does that as the custodian of the merit system. Just because I went abroad and aake kuch kiya, I could still crash it in my interview completely if I didn't own it up as well as my rural India counterpart did.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. Our journeys are unique and they're special. We just have to be confident and we have to show a certain level of trainability. We are open for training and learning. So that is one disclaimer I also give, because I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed when my journey is discussed. Secondly, we don't have to be a civil servant to do public service. And third would be mental health should not be a side note. It has to be a strategic component of our preparation. And I guarantee that it will give us good returns.
Super. I think enough said and neatly summarized. Thanks for coming for this raw and real. Had a great time chatting with you.
Thank you, same.
And I look forward to having you one more time on a webinar, which would be open to all. So we'll have interaction with.
That'd be lovely.
Awesome.